This conference will now be recorded.
All right, Tom, the floor is yours.
All right, we'll call the meeting to order, and let's do, let's see, we have Christina on there. You want to take a roll call?
Jolene will as the board secretary.
Oh, is Jolene on? I didn't see her.
Yep, she just jumped on.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead, Jolene, will you take roll?
I guess I need to take the mic off or turn it on. Good morning, Trustee Gilbert.
Present.
Lee Reader.
Present.
Baptist.
Here.
Thank you. Baines.
Here.
Present. Mirandis.
Brandis here.
Present. Thank you. Burns.
Here.
Burns present. Jones. Jones. Gasson.
Okay, thank you. Call for approval of the agenda. Anybody have any modifications?
So moved. Second.
A motion by Trustee Burns, second by Abdus. Jolene, will you take the roll?
Yes. Trustee Gilbert.
Aye.
Lee Reader.
Aye.
Baptist.
Aye.
Baines.
Aye.
Mirandis.
Brandis, aye.
Burns.
Aye.
Jones is still absent.
Thank you. Okay, Pledge of Allegiance. Elena, would you lead us in the pledge?
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great. Thank you. Okay, any conflicts of interest to be declared? Hearing none, move on. Kevin, back to you.
Yep, no scheduled presentations this morning. I'd open up for any public comment on non-agendized items at this time. Hearing none, we'll move on. Informational items, general manager's report. Not much to orally update. I did have just two items. Rosencourt, we do have a lease agreement back from the city. Scott and Rebecca are currently reviewing that, and the intent is to bring a draft of the agreement back to the board for discussion after we kind of go through the back and forth with the city. We can either, depending on how comfortable we are as staff, we could either bring it as a draft for comment or bring it back for approval. So Safeco and the Corps are still occupying the site, probably will until June of this year. At least that's the last that we've heard from them about their intent to use Rosencourt. So we do have some time. I know the city has a desire to enter into the agreement and then make the effective date effective once the Corps and Safeco vacate or return the site back to us. So that is their desire, but we do have some time to make sure that the agreement has everything in it that we want and that we need, and make sure that it's a good agreement. And by no means is there a commitment for us to enter into this agreement at all if we're not comfortable. You know, obviously up to the board at that point. So the city's provided that to us. We're reviewing, and we'll provide comments back to the city when it's ready. We'll return to the board. The second item is regarding the phase 2.2 of the financial plan. I had a meeting with MBS yesterday. The schedule, what we'd like to do, and it'll probably line up pretty well with our fiscal year 2022-2023 budget timeline. But we're looking at scheduling a finance committee meeting about the 3rd or 4th week of March to go over a draft of phase 2.2, which would be the narrative. That does give us some time. I should get a draft back from MBS in middle of February, which then I'll have Scott and Rebecca review for 218 compliance and make sure that any changes or modifications there share a draft with the finance committee in March, and then to the full board with a draft in April. We won't take action on phase 2.2 probably until November of this year. And that gives us time to do all of our outreach, meet with the community, keep it in draft form so that after meeting with the community and stakeholders, if there are modifications or good ideas that come out of those discussions, that we can modify the methodology and the rationale in the report. And then we're, obviously going to be responsive to those comments and concerns, and then return in November is our target for approval, which would then open up the public process and the public hearing process for the 218 proceedings, and then approval or vote for approval in first quarter of 2023. So then we could, if it's successful, be on the assessment roll for 23-24 fiscal year. So we're trending well. That just wanted to give you an update on kind of expectations there and the path forward on the finance plan. And at this time, I have nothing more to update other than what's in the report. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
I got a question, Kevin, on the hydraulic model. I know we have a schedule that was that you provided to us in May. I didn't have kind of easy access to it. I'm wondering in future reports, can you add that schedule in there? I kind of want to know how we're doing in terms of meeting that schedule. And I do appreciate all the detail that goes into this report. It's really helpful and answers a lot of my questions about what's been going on. So thank you.
Yeah, Nick, I'll include that hydraulic model update. I know that we did make some modifications to some assumptions in the model, working with Mead and Hunt and Rick Reinhardt, mainly to do with the PGC culverts and whether they're opened or closed during 100-year or 200-year events. It does change some of the modeling, and some of the assumptions were that the PGC culverts could be closed in a 100-year event, but that obviously that would help, but we don't think that that would be approved in the updated O&M manual. And so therefore we've made that modification. And so they're doing more model runs on the culverts being open. So that's kind of where we're at. I know the city and county are doing their peer review and their analysis on the model. So I'm not tracking how they're progressing, but I'll check in with Thomas Plummer and Steve Sullivan and get an update for the next meeting.
All right, thanks, Kevin.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Right, this is Chris. I had a question on the Roslyn Court issue, especially since Deborah's not here. I'm sure she would be interested, but I don't necessarily need to care about seeing the lease, but I would like some kind of report that shows that it meets those conditions that I think were put on the lease agreement back in the July meeting.
Yes.
I think Jag had an issue and I had one too. So that's all I'd want to see is as long as it covers that, or at least has some kind of report that shows that it either addresses or doesn't address those concerns.
Yeah, so the board did approve me to negotiate the agreement, but return for approval. So that will come back. The agreement will come back for approval at some point, or for a vote. But yes, we did communicate the draft deal points over to them. I think there were 8 issues in total, and those were kind of the must-haves. So that's part of Scott and Rebecca and my review when we comment back, is that those terms and provisions have to be included in that lease agreement.
Okay, yeah, that's all I want to be able to see, is there some kind of chart, if possible, so yeah, this is here, this isn't, but it's replaced by this, or that's.
Yeah. So in the staff report, when we return, Chris, I'll make sure that in the narrative of the staff report that, whatever line item number in the lease agreement corresponds to the deal points that we sent over, and, kind of a checklist that it's all included. So.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else on the general manager's report? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to operations manager's report. I do want to point out that Gabe, after our December meeting, Gabe went into some pretty serious action there on East Levy Road and the NIM deck for trash cleanup. I think we talked pretty extensively in December about the issues we're having and kind of the approach that RD 1000 is going to take to protect ourselves moving forward with weekly cleanups out there for unattended debris or litter that's been left that we're going to start weekly cleaning up. Gabe was able to, and hi Deborah, welcome to the meeting. We'll make note that you've attended, that you're on now. So Trustee Jones has joined the meeting at 8:10. Trustee Jones, we're on item 4.2, just going over the operations manager's report. Like I was saying, Gabe immediately after that meeting coordinated with Supervisor Cerna's office, got some really good response from the county, and we did a massive cleanup. I think it was the first week of January, a massive cleanup, and those pictures are included, the before and afters on East Levy Road in Gabe's report. Gabe, anything you want to add?
You know what, it's the process is really ongoing. There's quite a few camps that are moving into different areas after we perform this cleanup over by Del Paso and Sotnip. So basically what they're doing is they're moving south down the Arden Garden area. So I'm still coordinating with the city and county. There's different spots along East Levy Road that are county areas and then city areas. So we're still engaging the right folks to continue our efforts with removal. It's difficult to get these folks removed. So we're doing our best. We're performing weekly cleanups along East Levy. So essentially we're going out with a backhoe and a dump truck and our trailer and picking up what trash we can. It's an ongoing process, but I think we're slowly making a dent in this, and it's the concerned residents are actually are happy about this, and yeah, we're doing the best we can. We're making a dent, so I'm happy with it so far.
And one of the things that we're considering including in next year's budget is increased patrolling and maybe even 24/7 patrol of this particular area where we seem to have the most issues with things being set up. So, you know, and essentially moving these people on within a reasonable amount of time where they are afforded the basic human right to rest. And so we'll be making policy decision and budget decision on that. But it may be worth it. I mean, we definitely need to be able to visually see the levee through this section. You can tell by a lot of this debris, you know, it's just hard. We can't even drive the lower patrol road to do our inspections. The debris covers up the levees. There's multiple excavations that happen, whether they're stairs or cutouts for tents. And so I think it's an area of vulnerability for the district, and we probably need to be a little bit more aggressive than we have been. You know, the last couple of years we've been hoping for state legislation and city ordinance to be able to be enforced. We are communicating with the county currently to adopt an ordinance as well, similar to the one the city adopted in 2020, but haven't enforced because of COVID. But we're going to try that path and kind of protect ourselves as best we can. And so anticipate some added expenditures in next year's budget for patrolling. Any questions for Gabe or myself on the operations manager's report?
No questions, but I do want to say thanks, Gabe, and to the crew for this effort. I mean, these pictures don't do it justice. You know, you guys took these pictures there was a lot more trash up on the crown of the levee. I mean, it was impossible to pass through there. And you know, I know that this is just one spot of many, but we have to start somewhere, and the work and effort you put into it, coordinating kind of this multi-agency effort is appreciated and recognized for what it is in terms of complexity of the moving pieces. And I'm hoping that you know, we obviously continue down this path. This continues to be a significant problem up on the levee itself, impeding maintenance activities. You know, the unfortunate byproduct too is the amount of trash within the drainage channel itself. If you look at some of these pictures, again, they're more focused on the levee prism itself in terms of debris. But yeah, if you look at this picture beyond, I mean, and that's just a small glimpse to what's in the drainage channel. So I don't know. I say this without having researched it, but I'm just going to ask. And I know that the governor had allocated certain funds for trash cleanup around the state. I know we're tracking our time for this. I don't know if we're eligible for any of that money, but it seems like a pretty, aside from being a critical piece of infrastructure, I mean, this creek drains right into the Sacramento River, and all this trash ends up down there in the river, and it is unfortunate. So if you can you look into that to see if there's any additional funding for that? And then I'd also like to see what other interagency approaches could be engaged in for that trash cleanup in the drainage channel itself, because it's sad commentary on our state of affairs, honestly.
Yeah, we do have the Steelhead Creek cleanup, the multi-agency cleanup that we do in the fall every year, coordinated mainly by the Regional Water Quality Control Board, American River, and ourselves, and some volunteers that help clean up some trash. I know that Dr. Brady did do a dredging, so to speak, with a horse team this last summer. They got a grant to do some of that work, so that was good, but I don't think it even took the tip of the iceberg off. If you can see through the trash to the bottom of the creek bed, you'll see even more trash down there. So you're right, Nick. And if you could, I wasn't tracking that, the governor's budget bill there, or Chris or Elena, if you have more information and can point me in the right direction where to look, that'd be great. And I'll look into that funding.
Hey, Kevin, I'll send you a packet.
Okay, thanks, Elena. Appreciate that. Any other questions or comments for Gabe? Nick, I appreciate the affirmation and confirmation of a job well done by Gabe and the crew. And yeah, it does take a lot of time. There's a lot of effort to coordinate those things, but it's something that we desperately need to do. So I appreciate your appreciation. So.
I did have a quick question for Gabe. Could you clarify for me on your executive summary what a call out is on the SCADA? I'm assuming it's an alert, like either a text alert or some kind of, I just want to, it's probably a term or definition. I'm assuming it's just an alert. You talk about that there's no alarm call outs. Is that a?
Yeah, Chris. So currently the way the system's set up is we have alarms built into the system itself. They do, so when we have an issue, an alarm is sent, but there's no call out associated to it. So if there is an issue, we have to be logged on to SCADA to see the issue. So there's nothing alerting us of an issue, right? So if we're not on SCADA 24/7, then we're not going to be aware of the alarm or the issue, right? So to combat that, they do make a software upgrades. It's basically an auto dialer that's integrated into the SCADA system. So essentially, if we have a pump failure, this dialer will call whatever number we integrate into the system. It'll call that operator or that staff member, alerting them of the issue. So then after that, we jump on SCADA and basically troubleshoot via SCADA what the issue is, what's causing the problem, or we go down to the plant and physically look at it. So we don't have to log on to SCADA constantly. We're just getting alarmed for every single issue or problem that arises. We'll get a call for it. It'll call ourselves.
Okay, but we don't have somebody monitoring during the high water times or high rain events. We don't have somebody monitoring SCADA all the time. Logged on somewhere.
We do.
Okay.
We do during high water events. We actually have staff on site right now during the events at each fucking plant, and then Tony and myself monitor it via SCADA. But we can't monitor it 24/7. We just can't do it. So the fix to that is having a call out. I mean, we can have a call out for every single electric function at that plant, and it'll alert us immediately. So then we can address it right away.
Okay.
We just don't have the staff to,
I was concerned about redundancy as far as if there was rather than call out, an actual email, so it goes to several people at once rather than just one person or one phone call. That's just as a backup system.
Yeah,
maybe
so
they're not.
a number of ways, Chris, and typically it'll call until it gets a response from someone. So it'll first probably, call Tony, then Gabe, then me, and then keep going until you get a response.
Okay.
And so either a call or a text or both, we can set up a number of ways, but it literally prevents us from having someone sit watching a SCADA, our SCADA apps, constantly and waiting for an alarm to happen. So when we're on high water events and we're working 24/7, the crews are going around to the different pumping plants, and there's drive time and things like that, but we don't have someone dedicated just watching the SCADA system, which we, because we're just like we have for 100 years, they're monitoring visually with the site. With this software, and it probably should have been included from the beginning, there's a couple different ones. Ones that I've used faster is called SCADA 911, and so it'll, send a text or a call, and so you get that immediately. As soon as the alarm trips at one of the plants, whatever the alarm is, it'll let you know.
So it's just a software upgrade we're looking at, not hardware.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Because it'll all be done through the SCADA server. So it's literally a software component that then ties in, and then it dials out to whoever's cell phone. So.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Gabe or myself on ops? Okay, hearing none, on to General Counsel's report. We're fortunate to have Scott and Rebecca this morning, so I'll let you guys Rochambeau for who wants to speak.
Very kind in saying it's fortunate to have two lawyers. This is a reminder, you're only paying for one. We have a very brief report today. It's been a pretty quiet month, and it's been pretty quiet lately as well. As Kevin mentioned, we now have the Rosin Court lease, and we'll be taking a look at that. We also recently answered a question regarding SAFEGA eminent domain action for SAFEGA's efforts to continue to support the Army Corps of Engineers, where there was an existing 1930-something easement that the district had. And then Rebecca has been helping the district with a few agreements, in particular working with SAFEGA to send a draft back to the Army Corps of Engineers on relocation for pumping plants 1A and 1B. The Longtree Canal ownership, we flipped something back, and then I think finally we answered a question on prevailing wage. So happy to answer any questions, though most of them would probably go to Rebecca since she did most of the work this month, but it's been pretty quiet.
Yeah, I'll also note, I know we're remote today, and a friendly reminder, though most of you are aware, Sacramento County's health officer did put out a order requiring all public agencies to be remote for their meetings. That order does not have an expiration date, but we'll revisit it in February. I know it seems like this is moving pretty well for you all, but I want to remind you that we're now not opting in. We are required to be here in this remote status, and we'll continue to check in as time goes on.
And from a lawyer's perspective, it creates some really interesting issues, like for a district that hasn't been doing remote or already did its remote, there's more than 30 days, how does it do its remote now when the county's ordering it and the Brown Act isn't so clear? But you guys don't have to worry about that.
Thank you, Scott and Rebecca. Any questions? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to consent calendar. I would entertain a motion for approval of the consent calendar items 5-1 through, how many we got? 6.
So moved.
Second. I have a question, Kevin. Is 5.5, that's the 361 motion. Does that go away now in the future?
I think we're going to continue to do it. We'll just continue to do, because the Brown Act, even though Sac County has their order, we're still following, state approval. And so, Scott, you open up your mic. Go ahead.
I think Rebecca and I both open up our mics to say you're right. We'll keep doing it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
I got
Well, people always affirm that I was correct on something. That's good.
So I got a question on the minutes. So items 6.3 and 6.4, I think were heard out of order. I just kind of want to clarify it. I think I remember that correctly because I know I had to leave that meeting early and I wasn't there for the discussion on 6.3, but I was for 6.4, and I thought we took it out of order. It seems to imply that I just left for that one item, so I just want that to be clarified.
Okay, we'll make note of that. So I have a motion by Trustee Baines, and I'm not sure who was the second.
Second.
Lena?
Okay, we have a motion in a second. Jolene, if you're good for the record, then we're good on
Who had
that.
the second?
Okay. Go ahead and take
Kevin, who had the second?
Brandis.
Thank you.
Miranda. Thank you, Tom.
All right, Trustee Gilbert.
Yes.
Trustee Reader.
Aye.
Trustee Reader, aye. Abdus.
Aye.
Baines.
Aye.
Barandis.
Brandis, aye.
Burns.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Thank you. Consent calendar is approved.
On to item 6.1, committee assignments. The committee assignments are here before you for 2022. And so I'll turn it to Tom if you wanted to add anything.
There were just a few minor changes, and you can help me out here a little bit. I know that Elena went on as the member of the SAFCA board, and the alternates. Deborah stepped back into an alternate role, and Chris stepped into Tom Barandis's alternate role. I think the other change was on legal. I went on a legal committee, and I believe that was Chris was the third. Is that right?
Chris went on to urbanization and legal.
Okay, that's what it was. Yeah. So those are the only changes that I'm aware of.
I'll move the committee assignments.
Motion by Abdus,
I second.
second by the reader. Any public comment? Hearing none. Jolene, will you take roll?
Will Trustee Gilbert?
Aye.
Gilbert, aye. Lee Reader.
Aye.
Lee Reader, aye. Abdus.
Aye.
Abdus, aye. Baines.
Aye.
Baines, aye. Barandis.
Aye.
Barandis, aye. Burns.
Aye.
Burns, aye. Jones.
Aye.
Jones, aye. Committee assignments are approved.
Thank you, Jolene. Last on our agenda is the committee meeting minutes that are here. We only had the executive committee meeting since our last board meeting. And with that, I do, now that we have committee assignments, we're going to get pretty busy with some committee meetings coming up, especially as we head into our budgeting timeline. So mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, the finance committee meeting that we know of mid to late March, but I'll be sending out other committee meeting requests and letting know. And then Jolene, now committees are assigned as well. Please notify SAFCA of the new trustees and include, so send to Lindy the list that the board just approved.
I'll do that.
Any other items to discuss? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Burns,
I second.
second by Abdus. Jolene, will you take roll?
Yes, Trustee Gilbert.
Aye.
Gilbert, aye. Lee Reader.
Aye.
Lee Reader, aye. Abdus.
Aye.
Abdus, aye. Baines.
Aye.
Baines, aye. Barandis.
Aye.
Barandis, aye. Burns.
Aye.
Burns, aye. Jones.
Aye.
Jones, aye. Motion's approved.
Meeting's adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Have a great weekend, and we'll be in touch next week, I'm sure.
Thanks.
Okay.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.